We're here in a community that was earmarked for redevelopment, but that was then subsequently abandoned on the outskirts of Dubai. As you can see from the background, the community was full of garden plants and landscaping that has since died because of a lack of irrigation water and maintenance. The exotic plants which tend to dominate planting schemes here in the UAE soon died, whereas the plants which are actually more suited to local conditions of the extreme heat and lack of water are either hanging on, like the bougainvillea behind me, or are actually thriving in the case of local plants which are actually native and adapted to the conditions here. Species like palms and other ornamental flowering plants, the ones that you would have expected to have died, have done so. But the desert plants like the Sodom's apple, aloe and other succulent plants that are able to resist the extreme heat have managed to cling on. This is an object lesson in what future planting schemes in the UAE might look like and which plants are actually better suited to using in a situation where water is becoming a key priority. So here we are in a landscape that's typical to anyone who's spent any time in the UAE. We've got large expanses of very green, verdant grass, thirsty palm trees, and sprinklers going off in the middle of the afternoon at a time when a huge amount of the water is actually going to disappear through evaporation from the wind that you can feel at the moment, but also from the heat of the sun. It's one of the least efficient ways to actually water any vegetation, but it's also one of the least water efficient ways of actually landscaping a space. All in all, it's an incredibly wasteful exercise.
Here at the Dubai Desert Conservation Reserve, our main objective is the conservation of the natural fauna and flora that we find out in the desert. So these date palms that you see behind me, we put in probably 2.5, 3 years ago, and when we put them in, we put subsurface irrigation on them, which is basically a leaky type pipe that sits about 40 centimeters off the ground. The reason we did that was to eliminate evaporation. So the way the subsurface irrigation works is that the top layer acts as an insulation and is normally dry, and then just underneath the surface you can see here there's this moisture. So it stops that evaporation, and that enables us to give them a lot less water. Normally palm trees get about 80 liters of water a day. These palm trees are getting less than half of that. This is the khaf tree, or Prosopis cineraria. It's probably the tree that's best suited to this desert environment. We have 3 natural groves of these trees within the reserve, and the tree gets to close to 20 meters. It's used quite extensively in landscaping in the UAE, particularly along highways. But what we've done here with this tree, which is different to those landscaping projects, is we've actually stopped the water for the last 2 years, and as you can see, the tree is still in perfect shape. And I think this is a way forward for authorities maybe to have a look at. So firstly reducing the water, and then eventually stopping the water to these trees, because they are adapted for this environment.